Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk Wonder Woman. And this time we're going to look at things that we may have probably missed in the Wonder Woman movie and the wider context of the movie at certain points, right? So, if you look here at this scene here, we've seen it in the trailers and we've also seen it in the movie, right? We've seen it in the movie. And I guess some of you, if you want to, you can describe this scene right here. This is Wonder Woman coming to London. Steve Trevor, they got a ride. A boat was towing them, so this is the tug that's towing them. They mopped a ride, and that's how they were able to get to London a lot faster than if they would have sailed there via wind. Now, what I'm going to tell you is there is a series of things you're going to see which are related to the DCEU. Okay? So I'm going to show you three particular pictures, three particular snapshots of the movie, and you tell me what it is that I'm paying attention to, because I missed it in the movie. I didn't see it until after the movie, way after the movie actually, and the wider context of, what the DCU is about. So that's your hint. It's pretty vague, but still some of you are going to get it. So here is Diana. Here's the boat. Steve asked her the question, what do you think of London? And she said, it's horrible. And he said, well, it's not for everyone. And here she is now observing London. Okay. And this is London. Okay. Filled with smog and stuff. But I'm going to show you these three scenes over and over again for a little bit so that you can try and figure out what it is that I see here that relates to the DCEU, the wider picture of the DCEU. And what I can tell you right now is when Diana came to London, the year was 1918, right? Because we know there was a picture from 1918 of a snapshot of Diana and Sammy and Chief and Charlie and Steve in Belgium, in a little town in Belgium. And that's that picture that caused this memory that Diana has. So this is the year 1918. That's very important to remember. Okay? The year is 1918. Alright? You try and figure out the answer to the question. There is something in plain sight here that relates to the DCEU. So I think I'm going to give away the clue. I'm going to give you an extra clue. It's related to Justice League. Alright? It's related to something in Justice League. Okay? So, there you go. That's the big old hint. Alright? And it's in plain sight. You guys know what it is? I think you guys know what it is. I think it's fascinating. Alright, let's go on to the next thing. So here we had Steve landed in London with Diana. And Diana's ready to go to the war, but Steve is trying to convince Diana right here in this scene that he needs to go drop off something first, and he's very specific about what it is and so on before they can go to the war. And he says, he promises her she can go to the war after. Alright, they'll go. But in the process of doing so, Diana's not well dressed. So Steve is talking to Diana right now, this scene here, trying to convince her that she needs to go get some clothes first because it's different here in, the normal world. So here's Steve and Diana. They're going off to get some clothes. Okay. And Diana gets her clothes. As you can see, she's different right now. She has glasses, top and stuff. She's dressed differently, right? Diana gets her clothes. And she's leaving the place where she got her clothes. And she has difficulty going through the door because she's carrying a shield and a sword. Okay? A shield and a sword. So here she is trying to go a second go around at going through the door. And so she gets through the door. She succeeds with the sword and shield. Everybody's looking at her. And in the process, Etta Candy, she's calling Diana and she's saying, well, let me take those. All right, so you guys can go where you need to go. And Diana says, protect this with your life and so on and so on. So anyway, eventually she surrenders the stuff to Etta Candy, which you see here is kind of burdened down. And Steve and Diana, they're going off. All right. But as Steve and Diana are going off, you see Steve actually look behind him. He actually looks behind him twice because he notices something. he notices something. And as they're going off, Etta Candy's looking back at them, and she too notices something. And it really becomes obvious when Steve and Diana, they change course a little bit and they go a different direction. And Steve is bumped by the gentleman you see on your right. And he looks back, and the gentleman is looking back at him. And Steve knows something's up. So he tries to go hide. And in so doing, in his attempt to go hide, the same gentleman is accosting him with a gun. And he's saying to him, "Steve Trevor, give us Dr. Vargo's notebook." Calls it Vargo instead of Margot. Maru, sorry. Dr. Vargo's notebook, right? Now the question to you is, did you catch how this guy was able to follow Steve while I was narrating about Steve and Diana? Did you catch when this guy started to get on to Steve and Diana, and how he knew Steve's name, and how did he know that he had Dr. Maru's or Vargo's notebook? Did you guys catch it? If not, you can go through this video again. You can identify where in the video that is, and you can also identify where in Steve and Diana's little adventure here he was able to figure out what's going on. Alright? So on that note, I hope that you guys enjoyed this. These are things sometimes you miss in a movie, and you go back and you see all the details. So the two questions are, when did this guy figure out that Steve and Diana had something to do with Dr. Vargo or Maru? And also, there's something in the beginning of this video that actually is connected to the DCEU, particularly Justice League. And I thought it was an interesting thing to note that I hadn't really paid attention to until I saw Wonder Woman again. Alright? That's it, guys. Enjoy your day, and you guys have a great